You know those comments people toss around like they're nothing? The ones that seem harmless in the moment, but end up being some twisted foreshadowing of your whole life falling apart? Yeah, that was me telling my husband he was lucky I had low standards. Now I'm 34, divorced, and watching my ex move on while I'm getting ignored on dating apps. Talk about karma coming for you. I'm Christina. Back before I met Todd, I thought I was hot stuff. Had my own place, decent job in account management, and according to my girls, I was a total catch. Looking back, I was just living in this bubble where I thought I deserved some perfect guy while ignoring all the red flags I was waving myself. For years, I bounced between relationships with these guys I thought were amazing. There was Zach, the sales director who took me to fancy restaurants for exactly 6 weeks before his texts went from paragraphs to one-word answers. Then came Ryan, who said all the right things about building a future together, before I discovered he was saying the same exact lines to 3 other women. Jason lasted almost 4 months before he suddenly wasn't ready for anything serious after meeting my parents. Every single time my friends would rally around me with the same tired lines. He didn't deserve you anyway, and any man would be lucky to have you. And stupid me, I believed them. I never once stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, there was something about me that wasn't working. I blamed it all on men being trash. They just want one thing, I'd declare over wine night with my girls. It was easier than admitting that maybe I was the common denominator in all these failed relationships. Then I met Todd at my coworker's barbecue. He wasn't my usual type at all. No designer clothes, drove a practical sedan, worked in IT operations. Nothing flashy. But he listened when I talked. Actually remembered things I told him. Called when he said he would. Revolutionary, right? From the very beginning, I framed our relationship as me doing him a favor. I'm trying something different. I'd tell my friends with this little laugh, like dating Todd was some kind of charity work. The truth is, I was comfortable with Todd in a way I'd never been with those other guys. I didn't feel like I was constantly auditioning for the role of girlfriend, but instead of recognizing that as something valuable, I spun it as me settling because I was tired of games. 6 months in, Todd told me he loved me. We were at this little Italian restaurant and he just said it so simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I said it back because it felt right, but later that night, I called my best friend Angela. Todd said he loves me, I told her, twirling my wine glass. Well, obviously, she laughed. That man hit the jackpot with you. He's lucky you're giving him a chance. I know, right? I agreed. I guess I just have lower standards these days. We laughed about it. I actually laughed about the man who loved me more sincerely than anyone ever had. Looking back now, that moment was the first nail in the coffin of my marriage, and I was the one happily hammering it in. When Todd proposed a year after we met, I said yes, partly because I was 29 and felt like the clock was ticking, partly because I did love him in my own warped way, and partly because marriage was the next box to check off. My mother pulled me aside at our engagement party. He seems like a good man, Christina, she said, squeezing my hand. Treat him well. I remember thinking how typical it was of her to worry about his feelings instead of celebrating my moment. I didn't realize then that she recognized something in me, the same entitlement she had brought to her own marriage with my dad, the same attitude that had made their home so tense growing up. Don't worry, Mom, I'd replied with an eye roll. Todd knows how lucky he is. The wedding was at this cute venue by the lake. During my vows, I actually said something about taking a chance on a nice guy for once, which got laughs but made Todd's smile falter for just a second. At our reception, I had way too many glasses of champagne and ended up telling Todd's college friends that he really upgraded his dating pool with me. My maid of honor's toast included a line about how Todd won the lottery with me. The whole day was sprinkled with these little comments, each one chipping away at something I couldn't see. We moved into Todd's house after the wedding. I immediately started making changes, new furniture, different paint colors, replacing his bachelor pad decor with things I deemed more grown up. Looking back, I was erasing him from his own space, but I saw it as improving our home. From the beginning, our marriage had this weird power dynamic I created. When Todd got a promotion 6 months in, Instead of just being proud, I told everyone how I'd helped him prepare for the interview. I hadn't, and how my connections at work put in a good word. They didn't. I couldn't just let him have his win. My mom had always done the same thing to my dad. Any accomplishment of his somehow circled back to her influence. Growing up, I watched my dad's enthusiasm slowly drain away whenever he shared good news. Knowing my mom would find a way to take partial credit. I swore I'd never be like that, yet here I was following the exact same pattern. At dinner with friends, I'd casually mention how I had to explain basic concepts to Todd, even though he literally worked in tech and I barely knew how to update my phone. I'd sigh dramatically about having to train him to load the dishwasher correctly, ignoring the fact that he handled most of our household repairs and maintenance without complaint. My friends ate it up, especially the single ones who were still dating guys who couldn't commit. They'd laugh along as I'd say things like, "He's lucky I'm willing to put in the work." My married friends would exchange these looks sometimes, but I ignored them. They were just jealous of our perfect relationship, I told myself. About a year into our marriage, Todd started getting quieter during these group outings. He'd smile tightly when I'd make my little digs but wouldn't laugh along anymore. At home, he'd try to talk to me about it. "It kind of hurts when you talk about me that way to our friends," he said one night. "Oh, come on, I'm just joking," I dismissed him. "Everyone knows I love you. Don't be so sensitive." But he was withdrawing, spending more time with his own friends or working late. I didn't connect these changes to my behavior. Instead, I doubled down, framing his distance as another shortcoming. "Men just don't know how to communicate," I'd tell my friends, completely oblivious to the fact that he'd tried communicating and I'd shut him down. I remember this one dinner at his parents' house where I made some comment about how Todd couldn't find matching socks without me. His mom got this look on her face. Not angry, just sad. "Todd's always been very self-sufficient," she said quietly. "He did his own laundry since he was 12. Everyone got uncomfortably silent, and I felt defensive, like they were ganging up on me. Now I realized they were seeing what I couldn't, that I was slowly crushing their son's spirit. 2 years into our marriage, Todd started spending more evenings with his college buddy Mike. I didn't think much of it at first, was actually glad to have the house to myself to watch my shows without Todd asking questions about the plot. What I didn't realize was that Todd was confiding in Mike about our marriage problems. He was building a support system, preparing for what would come next, while I was still clueless. Our second anniversary dinner should have been a wake-up call. Todd had made reservations at this nice restaurant downtown. I spent the whole meal talking about my work drama while he nodded politely. When there was finally a lull in conversation, he looked at me with this expression I couldn't read and asked, "Christina, are you happy with me?" For a second, I was caught off guard. "Of course," I said automatically. "Why wouldn't I be? Sometimes I wonder if I'm what you really wanted," he said quietly. Instead of hearing the pain in his question, I laughed and reached for my wine. "Well, we all have to compromise somewhere, right? But hey, it worked out. We have our cute house, decent jobs, not bad for settling down with the safe choice." I actually said that to my husband on our anniversary. He didn't argue or get angry. He just got quiet, paid the bill, and drove us home. I thought he was being sulky and childish. Little did I know, that night was probably when he started seriously considering whether our marriage was worth saving. The real turning point came on a random Tuesday evening. We were having dinner with 2 other couples, Lisa and Dan, who were Todd's friends from college, and my coworker Jen with her husband Mark. Todd mentioned that he was being considered for a project lead position at work. Before he could even finish explaining, I jumped in. "It's because his boss played golf with mine last weekend," I said, completely making this up. I put in a good word. The truth was our companies weren't even remotely connected, and I'd had nothing to do with his potential promotion. Todd put down his fork. "Actually, Christina, it's because I've been putting in extra hours on the system upgrade for the past 3 months. Instead of backing down, I doubled down. "Well, sure, honey, but we all know it's about who you know, not what you know." I laughed, expecting everyone to join in. No one did. "Todd's been coding since he was 15, Lisa said, an edge to her voice. He's the most qualified person on his team. I felt my face flush. I know my husband's capabilities better than anyone, I snapped. Then I looked at Todd and added the words that would haunt me. He's lucky I had such low standards when we met, or he'd still be living in that awful apartment eating ramen noodles. The table went completely silent. Todd's face drained of color. After an excruciatingly quiet moment, Todd calmly placed his napkin on the table. I think I need some air, he said, and walked out of the restaurant. I tried to laugh it off. He's so sensitive sometimes, I told the group, but their expressions made it clear. They weren't on my side. The drive home was silent. When we got inside, I expected a fight, but what he said was worse. I don't think I can do this anymore, he said quietly. I've tried talking to you about how your comments make me feel, but nothing changes. I think we need some time apart. Are you serious? I was genuinely shocked. Over one comment? It's not one comment. It's hundreds of comments for years. It's never being good enough. It's being the butt of every joke. It's watching you undermine me in front of our friends. It's knowing that you think you settled for me. That's not. I don't, I stuttered, suddenly scared. I'm going to stay with Mike for a while, he said, already pulling out a suitcase. I need to think. When the door closed behind him, I called Angela immediately, ready to paint myself as the victim of an overreacting husband, but even she seemed hesitant to take my side this time. Chris, she said carefully, you do say some pretty harsh things about Todd sometimes. I'm just joking, I protested. Everyone jokes about their spouse. Not like that, she said. Not all the time, and not about their worth as a person. For the first time, I felt a tiny seed of doubt. Was I really the problem? Had I been the villain in my own marriage this whole time? The thought was too uncomfortable to sit with, so I pushed it away. Of course not. Todd was overreacting. He'd calm down, realize what he was giving up, and come home. But a week passed, then two, with only minimal contact. Each time he came by to pick up more clothes, I vacillated between desperate pleading and angry accusations. I can change, I promised one minute. You're being ridiculous and childish, I snapped the next. Nothing worked. Todd remained calm but firm. He needed space to decide if our marriage was salvageable. The more he pulled away, the more frantically I tried to hold on, suddenly terrified of losing the man I'd spent years acting like I was too good for. After a month of separation, Todd suggested we meet for coffee to talk. My heart soared. This was it. He was coming home. I spent hours getting ready, convinced my appearance would remind him of what he was missing. I think we should get divorced, he said gently, after the smallest of small talk. The world stopped. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to beg for another chance. But I love you, I said, the words sounding hollow even to me. I know you think you do, he replied. But love isn't supposed to make someone feel smaller. Real love builds people up. I can do better, I promised desperately. I'll stop making those jokes. I'll go to therapy. Whatever you want. This isn't about what I want anymore, Christina. It's about what I need, and I need someone who respects me, who sees my value without comparing it to their own. I tried everything over the next few weeks, showing up at his work with lunch, sending lengthy emotional emails, even getting his mother to talk to him. I was on my best behavior, complimenting him, showing interest in his work, promising change. For a brief moment, it seemed to be working. Todd agreed to couples counseling, and I thought victory was within reach. But in our very first session, when the therapist asked me why I thought we were having problems, I couldn't help myself. I think Todd is insecure about our different social standings, I said. He's always been sensitive about not being as outgoing or ambitious as me. I saw Todd's face harden, and I knew instantly I'd said the wrong thing again. The therapist gently challenged my perspective, asking if perhaps I had contributed to that insecurity, but I deflected, unwilling to accept blame. After the session, Todd told me he'd already contacted a lawyer. You still don't get it, he said sadly. You still think you're better than me. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. I was single again at 34, convinced I'd bounce back quickly. After all, if I could catch someone like Todd with my low standards, surely I'd have no problem finding someone new, right? Reality hit hard when I dipped my toe back into the dating pool. The attention I'd taken for granted in my 20s wasn't there anymore. Men my age were either already married or looking for women in their 20s. The few dates I did go on fizzled quickly, especially when I couldn't stop myself from making snide remarks or comparing them unfavorably to previous boyfriends. To add insult to injury, 3 months after our divorce was finalized, I ran into a financial crisis when my car broke down and required expensive repairs. With no emergency savings and maxed out credit cards, another point of contention in our marriage, my spending habits, I swallowed my pride and called Todd to ask if I could borrow some money. He agreed to meet me for coffee. Sitting across from him, I launched into an elaborate story about how unfair my job was, how they should have given me a raise by now, how the mechanic was clearly overcharging me. I was looking for sympathy, for him to step in and rescue me like he used to. Instead, he listened quietly, then asked, "Christina, have you considered that perhaps you're spending beyond your means?" I bristled immediately. "Not everyone can be as cheap as you," I snapped, then instantly regretted it when I saw his expression close off. "I'll help you this one time," he said, writing a check. "But I think you need to take a hard look at your choices." As he slid the check across the table, I felt a flash of shame. Here was a man I'd constantly belittled, still willing to help me when I needed it, while I couldn't even stop myself from insulting him while asking for a favor. 6 months after our divorce, I saw Todd at our friend's wedding. He wasn't alone. She was pretty in an understated way. No flashy makeup or designer dress, just a genuine smile and kind eyes. I watched them from across the room, the way she listened attentively when he spoke, the way they laughed together, the respect evident in their every interaction. It was then that the full weight of what I'd lost truly hit me. Todd hadn't needed to dramatically transform himself after our marriage ended. He'd simply found someone who appreciated him exactly as he was, the person I had been too blind and self-absorbed to see. At the reception, slightly drunk on champagne and regret, I cornered him near the bar. "She seems nice," I said, trying to sound sincere but hearing the bitterness in my own voice. "She is," Todd replied simply. "How have you been, Christina?" "Fine," I lied. "Great, actually. Lots of dates, you know how it is." The pathetic attempt to make him jealous hung in the air between us. "I'm glad," he said, and the worst part was, he genuinely seemed to mean it. He didn't care who I was dating. He had moved on completely. As I watched him return to his date, who welcomed him back with a warm smile and a touch on his arm, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Jealousy, regret, and finally, a small glimmer of self-awareness. For the first time, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, I had been the lucky one in our relationship. Maybe Todd, with his quiet strength, unwavering support, and genuine heart, had been the catch all along. And I had been too blinded by my own inflated sense of self-worth to see it until it was too late. Now here I am, scrolling through dating apps, getting ignored by men who wouldn't have given me a second glance a few years ago, watching Todd build a new life without me. My friends are less sympathetic now, tired of my complaints and increasingly unwilling to validate my version of events. I'd like to say I've had some profound transformation, that I've learned my lesson and become a better person. The truth is, change is hard. And admitting you've been wrong for your entire adult life is even harder. I catch myself still making the same judgmental comments, still believing I deserve more than what's available to me. But in my more honest moments like right now, I can see the pattern clearly. I'm alone because of choices I made, words I said, attitudes I held. Todd didn't leave me because he changed. He left because he finally recognized his own worth. I laughed that he was lucky I had low standards. Turns out, my standards were never the problem. It was my value system that was broken all along, and now I'm the one no man wants. Not because there's something wrong with all of them, but because there's something I need to fix in myself. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to be the kind of partner someone would be lucky to have. But for now, I'm just another dating profile being swiped left, wondering where all the good men went, refusing to acknowledge that I had one. And I drove him away with my own 2 hands.